Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone XR and see how it compares against the iPhone 12 in 2022. Now, both these phones are great. I would probably recommend buying the iPhone 12 more, but the XR is still a really decent phone in my opinion. And both of these are probably more similar than not in a few areas. I will tell you, I will leave both these linked down in the description below. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can see if you kind of held them from a distance or if I like move around like this, they kind of look the same. But there's obviously some big, bezel differences. On the iPhone XR, we had a 6.1-inch IPS panel on the front. The resolution was around 750p, so it wasn't really like the best resolution of panel ever, but it was still a really decent panel. I mean, if for that time it was kind of weird because it was a low resolution in the iPhone 8 Plus, but I think nowadays it's kind of grown on me. Still has True Tone, you still have the notch and everything, and with all the other iPhones still having notches and everything like this, not really much has changed, although we do have 120 Hz and everything, which is really nice. On the iPhone 12, on the other hand, we had a 6.1-inch panel, but it was bigger and it was an OLED panel. It wasn't bigger, but it had less bezel around it. And because of the flat sides on the iPhone 12, this phone definitely feels more current. When I think of a phone that came out recently, like this is the better design, and feeling this and holding this one in the hand, it definitely not only feels and looks better in my opinion, but in the camera it looks like a much better phone than the iPhone XR in my opinion. So in terms of the front, I definitely give it to the iPhone 12. In terms of thinness and thickness, you can kind of see, in my opinion, the iPhone XR does feel like the thicker phone. I think the iPhone 12 is thinner overall, but they both kind of feel like the same thing. But like I mentioned, I like the iPhone 12. This flat side is something I like a lot, although the iPhone 12 had some weird things going on with it. I like the design of the iPhone 12 for the most part. On the back, we have glass backs on both, almost exactly the same type of experience for the most part. The Apple logo is a little bit higher on the iPhone XR. We had a single camera setup on the iPhone XR right up there. We had a dual camera setup on the iPhone 12. So with the iPhone 12's camera, it's definitely a better experience, but with the iPhone XR's camera, it really isn't that bad either. Lightning ports at the bottom, they both have wireless charging, they both have IP certification. A big kind of thing to keep in mind is that the iPhone 12 has 5G enabled within it. The iPhone XR does not have 5G enabled, just 4G LTE, which is still perfectly fine for me for the most part. So in terms of the outside, that kind of covers it up. Now, in terms of longevity, this is definitely the area where the iPhone 12 is going to win at. This phone is going to be supported for a few more years to come. It's not going to be outdated tomorrow. So when you're getting an iPhone 12, it's going to be supported longer than the iPhone XR. But the iPhone XR is not going to be outdated tomorrow either. This is still a phone that's going to be supported for many, many more years. I mean, I would probably say for the next 2-3 years, this phone is still going to be around, which is a really good idea. And I definitely do think when it comes down to it, having a phone like the iPhone XR is a very, very good idea. A XR is still, has a long ways to go for the most part, and it may last as long as the iPhone 11s, who knows, or it could not last as long, but I think the XR still has a few more years to go. But because the iPhone 12 is 2 years newer than the iPhone XR, this phone is definitely 100% going to outlast the iPhone XR in my opinion. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone XR has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. As you can see, all the apps are clear out in the background as I showed you before. So let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 12 was slightly faster there. 12 here, 10R here. Music, 3, 2, 1. And definitely when I look at them at a side like this, the iPhone 12's panel looks so much better. But here you can see the iPhone XR was actually faster than that one, which was very, very weird. Let's do app stores, 3, 2, 1. And I think almost the exact same thing. There wasn't really a crazy big difference here. Scrolling through, kind of about the same thing too. Hopping out of there, let's do camera, 3, 2, 1. About the same thing too. Hopping out of here, photos, 3, 2, 1. iPhone 12 was faster there. Hopping out of these two, let's go and get into something like, I guess, podcasts or like iTunes Store, for example. So I don't even have iTunes Store here. That's very weird. Let's do mail, 3, 2, 1. iPhone 12 is faster. Let's do clock, 3, 2, 1. About the same thing too, not that big of a difference. Let's go and get into their settings app, 3, 2, 1. I think the iPhone XR was faster, but they were on 2 different panels, so we'll just kind of let that one go away. And that kind of covers it up for this front panel. As always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps we can go and get into. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. 12 is faster, 10 are a little bit behind. Let's go and do Netflix, 3, 2, 1. Almost identical, very, very close there. Thank you, 3, 2, 1. And the 10R was a little bit slower there, but the 12 did have a panel, but it still loaded up faster, which is very weird. Coming out of this one, Steak vs. Blocks, 3, 2, 1. 12 was faster, 10R a little bit behind. Gameplay wise, I don't know what the heck the 10R just happened there. Stack 3, 2, 1. And this game crashed a lot. There's a few games that crash on the 10R, which really shouldn't be crashing in my opinion. The 12 was faster here too, gameplay wise. And this is the problem with newer versions of iOS 15 on the 10R. I've talked about this before. It's been glitching up that device for some reason. Fruit Ninja 3, 2, 1. And the 12, I think, is going to be the faster one, but I could be totally wrong. Sometimes it switches up. Nope, the 12 was definitely the faster one. The 10 are a little bit behind. Again, not a big deal, but just one of those things to keep in mind. Going back over here, let's go and get into something like Facebook, 3, 2, 1. 12 is faster, 10 are behind. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. 12, again, it was faster, but very, very close. Let's go and try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1, but there's a chance where it may crash on the iPhone 10R or even on the iPhone 12, who knows. And it definitely looks like the iPhone 12 is faster here, followed by the iPhone 10R. So definitely we're seeing some big differences here as well. As you can see, iPhone 12 a little bit, the iPhone 12 was faster, the iPhone 10R was a little bit behind. So when it comes down to this one, I'll definitely tell you something like the iPhone 12 is a really good way to go. It's definitely a faster phone. I think the iPhone 10R is still fast enough, but there are some crashes and stuff going with the 10R, which are very weird. I guess we can talk about that in another video. Now let's go ahead on the cameras. And I mentioned this before, but the iPhone 12 has a dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, where the iPhone 10R has a single 12 megapixel wide. They both have 4K at 60 on the back, which is nice, but the 12 has 4K at 60 on the front. The 10R only has 1080p on the front, so kind of a disadvantage. And with the 10R camera, definitely having something that is, still this decent is still pretty good. It's definitely not a bad camera. You're definitely getting a decent setup for the most part. Again, having the ability of zooming in a lot or zooming out a lot, like on the iPhone 12, is always a really good option. But with something like this, you're kind of stuck in a situation where it just doesn't really, it's good camera for sure, but the 12 is a better camera, 100% of the fact. But this thing still has portrait mode. You have slow move mode if you want to do that. You have a lot of cool things. Neither one of these supports cinematic mode like the newer iPhones have, but it's still a pretty good camera for the most part. And with the iPhone 12, on the other hand, this is still a very good camera. And not only are the colors seem like a lot more punchier, but that ultra-wide sensor is really nice to have. Having that ability of zooming out a lot into a photo is really cool. You don't have a telephoto lens, but the 10R doesn't have it either, so there's no point in even talking about that one. But having that additional ultra-wide sensor is really nice, and I've always loved that, and I've always appreciated that. So when it comes down to something like the iPhone 12 right now, this is a very solid option, and in my opinion, this is a really good, iPhone, for the color, for the camera, in my opinion. So you still have portrait mode, you still have all this stuff, but the 4K at 60 on the front is a really nice touch as well. So ultimately, to kind of sum up this entire video, I will definitely tell you something like the iPhone 12 is probably the better phone in most areas. I will tell you that there were some times where the iPhone 10R may have been a better option, like because of the bigger battery, the better battery life potentially. But with iOS 15 right now, it's been really changing a few things, and I kind of think that the iPhone 12 is probably the better phone I'd recommend. And it has a better camera, better performance, better display, better build quality. I think the iPhone 10R is a really good phone still too. For the price tag, if you can get this thing for less than $300, it's a really good iPhone for sure. This thing has a ton of capability built in. I think the 12 is a really good phone, probably a good upgrade from the 10R, but I did have some issues with my 12 before. But I think the 10R is probably a really good phone to pick up as well. I think this is still a tremendous phone. You may want to factory reset it before you actually use it, but that's pretty much my opinion on both these in 2020 too. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.